Welcome again, everybody, and thank you for joining the Infosim Global Webinar Day. Our topic today is, oh my God, this time it is the network, how to prevent or recover from a network disaster. My name is Dietmar Kneidl, Director of Sales Europe with Infosim, and I will be your moderator for today's event. Joining us from our office in Austin, Texas, is my colleague Jason Farah, who is a sales engineer with Infosim. Good morning, Jason.
Good afternoon, Dietmar.
Okay, you noticed the time difference. Thank you very much. This is the second webinar we're doing today. We did one early in the morning for us and very, very early in the morning for Jason about 6 hours ago for the Asia Pacific region. So Jason, you probably had a couple of coffees in between to keep you alive. Okay, I'll take that as a yes. All right, well, Jason will guide us through the webinar and live demo today. So before I hand over to Jason, I have a few items that I wanted to inform all of you about. First off, all of you are automatically muted to keep down the background noise. So for us to be able to see and answer your questions, please type them in the questions window at the bottom of the GoToWebinar application. We will be taking care of all of your questions either directly in the chat or at the end of today's webinar in our Q&A session. Also, please be aware that this event is being recorded and all of you will be informed with a short email tomorrow on how to access that recording. And finally, since we're giving away 3 Amazon gift cards on this Global Webinar Day, I strongly advise you to answer the trivia question that is part of a short questionnaire you will be presented with when leaving today's webinar. Well, that's all items from my side so far, so I'd like to go ahead and turn things over to our presenter and rockstar network gladiator, Jason Farah. Jason, you ready?
I am. Hello, everyone. Okay, so today's topic we're going to cover and discuss about how to provide for better reaction in cases of a network disaster, how to limit or lower the time it takes for you to figure out what's going on and to make corrections. So everyone knows that the availability of your network is definitely tied to your revenue. Every minute that you're down or hour that you're down can mean varying amounts of potential money lost for your company, and most outages are caused by human error. So ways that people come up with better plans and react more quickly when a network outage happens is that they have various policies and procedures in place beforehand and standardized configurations. And when an outage does happen, it's important to have a playbook so you can know how to react, figure out how much of the network is actually affected, what's the root cause. Maybe it's just an equipment failure or an attack, when to escalate to who, depending on how large the outage is. Is there things that should be thought about before you actually have an outage and start kind of getting nervous? The ways that we help and figure out what's happening is we do a very thorough layer 2 and layer 3 discovery automatically of the full environment, everything that we're monitoring. So I'll go through some of the examples here. So here's some of the layer 2 information. If you'll notice here, you can see the all the connected devices to all the interfaces we're monitoring on this particular device and how we discovered them. As you see here, we've got some things we discovered by ARP, some things by directly connected routes or static routes, EIGRP or CDP. And down here is another view of the same thing, more of like a CDP type view if people are used to seeing that, so you can tell what interface of yours connects to the interface of the distant device, and again, how we discovered that. Here on the layer 3 information, this is automatic. We figured this as soon as we started monitoring the device. Here we're showing that there's one EIGRP area, and you can see which neighbors and which routes are being advertised in two different views. Here now, this is the inventory information. This comes in handy when you lose a power supply, or you lose a daughter card or a system board. Here, this way you will know the serial number before and after, and you can run reports to make sure that there hasn't been any changes in your network. If someone does replace some hardware, you'll be aware of that. And we also automatically form topology views. They're easily created, and you'll notice here with the neighbor level right here, this is so if you grab any device and you put this on neighbor level 0, you just see that device. Level 1, you see that device and everything that's connected to it. Level 2 progressively gets larger and larger. More and more devices, as long as you're monitoring those devices, will continue to get a larger and larger map. Now it's time to move on to, I'll give you some real life scenarios and see how the product reacts in a few different examples of how an outage could happen. This is the face we all make when the network goes down and we're not exactly sure what happened. So we're going to try to turn that frown into a smile here. Here's our interface here, and so everything is green at the moment. There's absolutely no outages, and if someone were to come to the device and do some configuration changes.
So you're simulating the rogue network engineer who just thinks that making changes out of the blue is a good idea?
Absolutely. This is, and someone may apply, in this case, I'm going to apply an access list that is going to deny all inbound ICMP packets on the internet, on the WAN interface of our network setup here. So that's absolutely going to disrupt monitoring and functionality. Okay, so just committed that change. Here we'll see the environment is going to start going down. You'll notice down here on these action events and sys logs, since I've selected the major interface, this could be a region or however you organize your nodes. In this case, you see we've got 10,000 alerts and 634 system logs, and here's the device that I made the change on. It's now 267 that just pertain to that device. Here, this is us, this is us noticing someone has made a config change. Now here in just a few seconds, we are going to log into the device and take a backup. So let's give it a second here.
So maybe this is a good time to mention that this is, of course, our demo lab setup, so we're not actually interfering with any major network, just to make a point in our demonstration here. This is obviously just a demo setup. At least I hope it is.
It is.
All right.
It
just
is.
Want to make sure.
Not blowing up.
Not that I, receive an angry complaint. So why is my network not working anymore? Because those complaints I would.
Okay, here we go. Now, I have no idea what happened. So here is the here's a log message showing that we've logged into the device and taken a backup. So now if I go over here to my tab that pertains to that, here's the device in question. You'll notice there are two backups here because we've noticed the config change, and this is right now. If I select both of them, if I would do a config diff, then I will see right here that someone has logged in and applied this access list test in the inbound direction on interface 2.0. So in order to correct that, you have a few choices. If it's a simple configuration change such as this one, where there's just one line of difference, then you could easily just log in and make that change. But in more complex scenarios where someone has completely blown out the config or made many changes, you can also just come to the device and you can right-click and you can restore this configuration right here with one click, and it'll go back and put the config that you've selected. It'll put that right back into operation. In this case, I'm just going to quickly back this out.
Well, you're showing the manual process now, so this is how you do it right on the console, and you've shown the semi-automatic if you use the jump to menu, but this can all be done completely automatic as well.
Absolutely. You can click here to restore a configuration, or we have these configuration jobs that I'll just pick one here, for example. It's trying to open, and you can schedule these jobs to run and perform their various tasks, every day. So this could be turn things back to their standardized config every day at this time, or once a month, or whatever, to keep things standardized. And you can select the credentials, the devices you'd like to apply that to. It's very configurable and straightforward, easy to use. So now if you'll notice, things are returning back to normal now. And in this case, I was only blocking ICMP packets. So while it was an outage, it wasn't actually causing traffic to be down. Now, if I break this in a more ruthless manner, then if I stop all communications inbound on that interface, then you'll see we will quickly identify the root cause of what happened here.
Okay, so you're just going to inflict more damage now.
I am. Now I'm going to block all communications inbound on that interface, and then there will be nothing. We'll immediately jump and show you the root cause of what happened.
All right, while we wait for that. Oh, okay. No, that's still green. So we got to wait a few more seconds, I guess. While we're waiting, maybe this is a good time to inform you about a pretty new feature on GoToWebinar. On your panel, you have a handout section. I'm not sure if it's actually active yet because I haven't dropped a file in there, but I will, in the course of the webinar, drop in a few files. So we have prepared some handouts for you as a takeaway, and I'll announce those later, and then you can directly click on the GoToWebinar interface and download those. Oh, okay, these things are happening now. So back to Jason.
Absolutely, things are starting to go down, and now we are making what I can only assume are tons and tons of calculations in the background, trying to figure out exactly what has happened here. And here shortly, we're going to point out to you the root cause of your outage. We give it just a second. notice this column here for root cause. So once we identify it, then we're going to populate this with a clickable link that will take you right to what the problem was. Here we go. So it says it's 6993. If I click that, it tells me that my DAL int R1 router is completely unreachable, and that is the root cause. We've suppressed all other alarms, so you're only getting notified that this device here is down and not getting bombarded with what can only be hundreds and hundreds of alarms of all the things that we measure on these devices. It would now be completely unreachable. Let me put this back here. Things will start to come back up. And then there's another way that you can figure out what has happened. So if I go back over here to the device tab, now if I've created a report that goes and looks out over whatever device or group of devices that I select, and it's going to tell me if there's been any configuration changes in the past 24 hours. So in this case, if I execute this dashboard for the entire group, let me see here. It's going to take a second before it grabs that config. Let's wait for this to turn back green again.
Okay, well, again, maybe to pass the time while we're waiting, the reports we're going to see in a second, you'll see that they are very much StableNet look and feel. So they use our color coding and our logo, etc. But just to let you know that these reports are, of course, highly configurable, not only in terms of what they contain, but also in terms of how they look like. So you can impose your company CI on these reports in no time, present logos, do the right color coding, etc. So that is all available in the product. So this will enable you to deliver nice and good-looking reports to the Cs, because we all know they want those reports, and those reports are mighty important and they need to look good.
Okay, here we go. Now I've right-clicked and shown the dashboard, and you can see that was this device has had this configuration change. Someone applied the access list inbound on interface 2.0, so that will allow you to quickly see if someone's made a configuration change. You can look out over your environment and quickly identify what's happening, so you know how to correct that. We also have some other things that we can do. So here, if you'll notice on this device, for example, we've taken a backup, and we've also collected these commands at periodic intervals or configurable intervals to show changes in the output of any number of commands. And this is customizable. We have here the info commands manager. Here we have a list of commands that can be issued. And if you'll notice here that we have a few different types. So if the device were a Cisco, then we're going to automatically collect these commands. This is a small demo setup that I've set up here, so I don't have a lot of commands pre-configured, but you can easily add commands here with new, and you can add as many or as few commands as you like to collect at periodic intervals any information that you want to do. Here's some backup jobs that you can create to go and take backups at defined intervals. Configuration jobs that you can execute to go and make any number of configuration changes. to your devices. And discovery jobs, this is how we will reach out and grab new subnets, new devices, new networks of things. And policy check jobs are used to go and look out over the environment and make sure that certain pieces of configuration are or are not present. So in this case, I know our proper logging server. So if I look out over all of the devices and see if any devices have the wrong logging server, I do see here just how quickly that executed. Searched over the 8 devices, found 3 of them that do not have the proper syslog server configured. If you click any one of these, you can say show details, and it will tell you that I did find this command in place at line 110 of the config, so you would quickly know which devices do not meet your standardized configuration. And you can quickly correct this too. You can repeat for failed or create for failed. If you highlight any of the ones that failed, then you have the opportunity to issue whatever commands or snippets, as we call them, that are portions of configurations or scripts. You have a lot of options at your fingertips to go and make these corrections instantly just for the failed devices. Let's see, it's all for the demo now. Everything is back into a completely normal and greened up state. Come back to the presentation here.
All right, while you fire back up the presentation, just a little info. I have uploaded the first handout we're going to give away during this webinar. These are just a couple of selected use cases of the NCCM area, a couple of screenshots put nicely together so you have a good visualization of how it actually, how the actual use case looks inside the product. All right, Jason, back to you.
Okay, so now we have one more thing here, how to prevent network corruption. So here are a list of a few major outages that happened in the very recent past that were caused by human error, people making configuration changes such as I just did when they should not have, or overnight configurations here in the case of the New York Stock Exchange, breaking everything, taking them down for hours. So we have something called the 4 eyes principle, which means that any changes have to be reviewed by someone before they're allowed to take place. So if you'll notice this job here, I know it's kind of small, but there's a job listed right here with a column for confirmed. So if anyone were to make a change to this job or any of the jobs that I enabled the forced verification on, then you will get an email, or whoever you have configured to receive emails. In this case, it's only myself, but this is a very configurable field here. You can comma separated, put as many email addresses as you like. If anyone makes a change to a config, then you will get this email here with a link to go and review the configuration change that they've done, or another link to go straight to say, I've reviewed this and I accept it, and once they click and confirm the job, then now it is executable and someone can run that job at their leisure. It's because you've accepted it. Okay, and that's it for the demo now. Do we have any questions?
Okay, well, yes, we do. Before we head over to the Q&A, just another note on the handouts. I just made the white paper on NCCN and VLM available to you, so feel free to download that as well. It'll show you 27 best practices for NCCM, network configuration and change management, and VLM, so including vulnerability and lifecycle management. So you have a little bit more background on what StableNet can do in these areas. Coming to the questions, there were a number of questions. Some of them we could answer directly in the chat, but I picked a few for you, Jason, because I thought these might be interesting to all of our audience. First one is, Jason, you showed all of these examples with Cisco devices because we have Cisco devices in our demo lab. The question from the audience was, can StableNet do this with other vendors just as well as we can do that with Cisco?
Absolutely. We support a very large number already right out of the box. Cisco, Juniper, F5, Extreme, to name a few. And should you encounter a device that we do not support at this moment, then we have certain standards in place that we will very quickly bring that type of device into the fold if possible. Once we get access to the device, then we'll do some checks and measure everything that we can possibly measure from that device in very short order.
Okay, and maybe to add here, we're talking about weeks, not months. So within a reasonable time, of course, we need access to the device, and there's a couple of preconditions, but that can be done real quick. So thank you, Jason. That pretty much answered that question. And then we obviously have someone in our audience with excellent eyesight, because you showed in the backup tab that there are also other information tracked besides the simple configuration dumps. So can these additional information, can this metadata be extended or adapted individually?
Yes, absolutely. In that case, I had those few commands, show ARP and show startup config. I believe I had show EIGRP, but you can absolutely add more commands at your leisure, however many you'd like. We will collect those on the same interval.
Okay, and thank you for that. And then there was one last question that actually was coming from one of our attendees from Russia. So good day or good afternoon to Russia. And it's about, well, you basically showed quite simple configuration examples as you said it yourself. So is StableNet able to do more complex things than just those sequence of commands you've shown us? Is there a way to, attack more complicated challenges?
Oh, absolutely. As I mentioned briefly, we have what we call snippets, where if you were to go into any of those device configurations, you could highlight any portion of the running config and quickly make what we call a snippet. It takes that piece, and then now you can use that snippet and apply that to check out to any device. And we have template-based configs that take things even further, where we can pass variables. We can pass variables back and forth from the database to verify, say, what we have matches your CMDB or vice versa, and we can actually have, through our XML, we can quickly create, say, the same job. So if it, with one job, it could look out. If it runs into a Cisco device, it will run these commands and this configuration changes. If it's another vendor, it will run an entirely different set of commands, all in a single job. The job is smart enough that it will pivot and realize what types of device you've applied that to, you need to apply that to.
Okay, well, thank you
we
very
also
much.
Can take user input fields too.
Oh, well. I'm sorry, I didn't want to barge in, Jason. Sorry for that. So this actually.
We also have the ability to. Go ahead, sorry.
I did it again. I'm sorry. It's if you maybe for explanation to our audience, we have a few seconds delay because Jason is sitting in Austin and I'm sitting in Würzburg, Germany. So we're not that impolite. It just is a little bit tough to get the right timing. But Jason, I interrupted you. Just go ahead.
I was going to say one more thing we also have is in the jobs you also would have the ability for user input. So you could start the job and then provide the input that you like on the fly through an input text box, for example. Or we could pass variables back and forth with the database, as I mentioned earlier.
Okay, I just made sure to not interrupt you again. So again, these are quite powerful possibilities to, do more than just a sequence of commands. And there are many more options to explore in this area. Unfortunately, we've reached the end of our time slot already, so we have to go and close the Q&A session now. But there are, of course, detailed web sessions on this or any other StableNet related subject available. So if you have any more questions, feel free to contact us. We're happy to help. We can set up those web sessions real quick. And maybe if you advance a slide or two, because we have, I think, an overview slide of our resources. There is a number of more resources available on a number of topics in the resource section on our website. So feel free to visit that website and provide yourself with the information you require. Talking about providing of information, I have in the meantime uploaded the third handout to the handout section of the GoToWebinar application, and this actually is the PowerPoint presentation we've used. So the PDF format of the slides we've used today are available as well. So thank you very much, Jason, for the presentation and live demo. And this is a good time perhaps to thank everyone for joining our session today. As I've mentioned earlier, a recording of this webinar will be made available to all of you. You will receive a short email tomorrow. And we will keep the session open for a few more minutes in case anyone from our audience decides to type in another question. We'll take care of that as well. And by the way, I've mentioned that in my introduction already, since we're giving away 3 Amazon gift cards on this Global Webinar Day, don't forget to answer the trivia question that is part of a short 4 or 5 questionnaire that will be presented to you when you leave the webinar. So I guess that's all from us today. Again, thanks for joining us and enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye.